At this time, if you have not silenced your cell phones, please do so. And Mr. Tao, we'll let you begin with our review of the agenda items for our regular meeting.
All right, tonight we have start with our consent agenda for the council, and this will be January 5th, regular meeting minutes that you have before you to review and make corrections to, add to, delete, recommend. Then behind that, we have Resolution 2016-03, and this is a write-off of uncollected utility bills that are 15-month delinquent. And that amount this month is $9,496.30. Them are utilities over 15 months delinquent. Following that one, we have the write-offs for the overdue library. Again, these are fines that are 15 months delinquents, and that total is $83.36 for that portion of it. And then we jump into new business, and we start off with the audit. And we got Mr. Don Allman here.
All right.
I'm Don Allman, the CPA, and I'd like to thank the mayor and city council members for having us do the audit for the city of Bowie again. Greatly appreciate your business and enjoy coming to Bowie. I also need to thank all the staff here at Bowie. Everyone who worked with did a great job getting us, all the financial information we need and answering any questions. The people we probably work with the most are Carrie Moore and Rick Allen, and Renee Lawson. We both Renee the most. So, special thanks to Renee for putting up with us, and all the numbers go through the code. So he definitely does a great job reviewing and kind of checking us on all of our numbers. And without further ado, then I will start on page 3. The audit report you'll have with y'all under the financial highlights up at the top. The first bullet point there says the assets of the city exceeded its liabilities at the close of the most recent fiscal year by $28,019,388. Of this amount, $4,234,315 is an unrestricted net position which may be used to meet the city's obligations. So what that means in English, total assets minus total or liability is fund balance, net worth. So the net worth of the city of Bowie at September 30, 2015 was about $28 million. Unrestricted net position means money that's not reserved or restricted for anything. So $4 million of that $28 million is free and clear to be spent, however the council so chooses. So plain English again, that's a pretty good position to be in. Be worth $28 million and have 4 of it. Just do whatever you want to. Second bullet point. During the year, the city's total net position increased by $522,878. Increase is largely due to increases in service revenues in the general fund during 2015. Plain English again, net position increase is net income. So the net income for the city of Bowie for both funds, both general and water, sewer, and electric, $522,878. Third bullet point there, governmental funds reported a fund balance this year of $1,219,716, which is a decrease of $74,716 from the prior year. Plain English here, governmental funds are a little different. It's kind of like a cash basis look at the city's funds. The 2 items I mentioned above, those were the government-wide financials, which are accrual, where we also look at your capital assets and depreciation, and then also your long-term liabilities. This governmental funds does not. That takes those things out. So it's kind of like just a current asset or cash basis. So on that basis, the city did have a small loss of $74,716. And of that $1.2 million net worth, again, in the governmental funds, $405,000 of that's unassigned. That means free and clear, able to be spent however you also choose. $216,745 is assigned for specific programs, and then $507 is restricted by outside agencies. So that's kind of a breakdown of that. And final bullet point there, at the end of the current fiscal year, unassigned and assigned fund balance for the general fund was $622,000, which is kind of those 2 numbers above I just mentioned. Let's flip over to page 5. towards the middle of the page there, you see table A1, city's net position. That's government auditing for balance sheet. So this is the balance sheet for the city of Bowie as of September 30th, 2015. The governmental activities, that's your general fund. Business type activities, that's your electricity, water, and sewer fund. And we have 2015 and 14 side by side there for comparison. Start with the current and other assets, so that's things like your checking account, savings account, all the bank accounts of the city in the general fund. And also that'd be receivables, so in the general fund, that's things like property tax receivable, sales tax receivable, municipal court, also ambulance fees is in the general fund account receivable. 2015, we have $10,515,295. 2014, we have $1,746,258. Big increase there of about $8 million. Some of the council members here look old enough to remember I Love Lucy, some of y'all may not. Anyway, I would say we've got some explaining to do, if y'all remember that. Maybe y'all don't. Sorry. So let's go over to page 11, because that's a little more detail on your balance sheet. Exhibit A-1, the statement of net position, that's the same thing we were just looking at. That was just kind of a summary form. This is a little more detail. So I'll try to go through this pretty quickly. Just I figure $8 million increase is kind of worth going into a little depth on. Cash and cash equivalents, so that is your checking accounts for the city of Bowie, $494,698. Investment accounts, $216,745. Go down a little further, you'll see restricted assets, cash and cash equivalents. That's your checking accounts that are restricted for specific purposes. So that's $507,000. So your total cash of all bank accounts for the city of Bowie is 500 plus 200 plus 500, about 1.2 million. So out of that 10,515,000, about 1.2 million of that's all the bank accounts. Now let's look at your receivables, net of uncollectibles. Taxes, your property tax levy was set at September 30th, 1,436,932. Accounts receivable, that's just kind of general account, general fees at the city bills, $91,000. Your ambulance fees were $660,000. Municipal court, $226,000. Other, $9,000. So we've got about 2.3 million in accounts receivable there for the city. So we have the 2.3 million in accounts receivable, about 1.2 in cash, so that's about 3.5. So we got another 7 million to come up with, and look down at restricted assets. These are two brand new items this year. They had a big change in the TMRS pension reporting requirements. In the past, all we did was put about 3 pages at the back that said, how much y'all contributed to the TMRS pension fund and some other stuff. They changed that completely now. Now they want to put your net position in the city financial statement. So we're having to do that for every city this year. And that's that $7 million. So if you look at your restricted assets, deferred outflows, $784,489. Planned fiduciary net position, $6,087,753. So it's, like I said, right at $7 million. That's all coming from TMRS, which, my own personal opinion, I think it's kind of silly to put this in here because the city can't really access that. But they just want that, that's a change they made this year. Every city now has to show what their position in TMRS is. So for the city of Bowie, we got $7 million in the asset portion. So there's the $10,500,000 up from the $1,700,000. Capital assets a little more normal, not as much planning to do there. $12,575,000, down slightly from the $12,778,000. Decrease is just due to depreciation. There's just depreciation on assets that are already in service. So total assets of the governmental activities, the general fund, $23,090,360. Up from the $14,524,000, so about almost a $9 million increase. And so 7 of that was due to the new pension requirements, and then the property tax levy about 1/4. That's most of the rest of that. Total long-term liabilities, $9,961,218 in 2015. Big increase again from the $3,608,815. Jump back with me to page 11, if you will, please. Accounts payable, $21,885, so that's pretty small. Accrued liabilities, $9,006, accrued payable, $57. Deferred revenue, $1,840,000. That's for government accounting. You can't consider any receivables current unless they're collected within 60 days. So of course your property tax levy is September 30th. When are most property taxes paid? December and January. So that's a big part of that deferred revenue right there is the 1.4 in property taxes. And also, the ambulance fees, of course, a lot of those weren't collected within 2 months. So your deferred revenue of $1,840,000. Remember I said the accounts receivable was about $2.3 million. So your net receivable from those, the 2.3 minus the 1.8 is about $500,000. So that's about the net receivables there. So again, that's the part of the, and then part of the increase there. And then right below that, you see long-term liabilities, total pension liability, $6,872,242. That's the total liability on the TMRS portion, for the city of Bowie for the general fund. So, like I said again, out of that $6 million increase, almost $7 million is from the pension, so actually the city did decrease its liabilities over the year, taking out the pension portion. The other liabilities already mentioned, that was with the deferred revenue. So total liabilities, $11,920,000, up from the $3,776,000. It's a big increase, mostly due to pension. Your net position, again, that's your net worth, total assets minus total liabilities. Your net investment in capital assets, that's kind of like the blue book value of all the city assets, because that's total assets minus any loans that are outstanding on those assets, plus or also minus depreciation. So that's $9,215,153. Slight decrease from the prior year, $9,292,000, again, mainly just due to depreciation, but then also as the loans are decreased, that kind of increases your value there too. Restricted net assets, $1,011,000, up from the $787,000, slight increase there. Unrestricted, $942,818, up from the $668,000, so a nice increase in your unrestricted fund balance. So total net position, general fund, $11,169,524. Up from the $10,748,000, so about a $300,000 increase there, or about $400,000. Now let's look at business type activities. So that's your electricity, water, and sewer funds. Current and other assets, again, that's all bank accounts and then all receivables. For the water and sewer, kind of the same deal again. We got $10,406,684, up from $3,062,000, so another $7 million increase. Flip over to page 11. Cash, bank accounts in the business type activities, water, sewer, electricity, $642,000. Your investments accounts, $1,880,000, so right at 1.9. So right at 2.5 million is your total cash in the water, sewer, and electricity funds. Your accounts receivable, mostly that's just your customer receivables for water, sewer, and electricity, $991,000. Small amount of taxes and other there, about $20,000. Again, look down, we see deferred outflows. We put half of it in the general fund, half of it in water and sewer fund. So $784,000 deferred outflows, again, coming straight from TMRS. $6,087,753, your net position, that's also coming straight from TMRS. So again, $7 million. So I'd say about the $7 million increase in your current assets is all due to the TMRS pension reporting. Capital assets, $14,103,024, down from the $14,615,203. All depreciation, so just depreciate, and there is a lot more assets in the water and sewer electricity fund than the general fund. So total assets, $24,509,708, up from the $17,677. Again, the $7 million increase due to the TMRS reporting. Long-term liabilities, same story, $7,038,000, up from $253. $7 million, that's all due to the pension liability coming from TMRS. If you look on page 11, there was $554,603 in accounts payable, and that's pretty much all for just one big invoice. And in the water and sewer fund, water, sewer, and electricity fund. Other liabilities, $620,000, down from $675, so those are about the same. Your net position, again, total assets minus total liabilities, net worth, $13,509,873, down from the $14,388,784, again, depreciation. Restricted assets is $48,474, down from the $348,000. Your unrestricted, remember that's the money free and clear, $3,291,497, up from the $2,011,000, for a total net position or net worth $16,849,844, up from the $16,748,000, so about a $100,000 increase there in water and sewer and electricity. Let's turn to page 7. Table 8-2, changes in net position. That's government accounting for profit and loss or income statement. So this is the profit and loss or income statement for the city of Bowie. Same format, governmental activities is general fund, business type activities, electricity, water, and sewer. Charges for services in the general fund, $3,470,877, up from the $2,715,734. I think there are big increases in ambulance fees during the year, and then also sanitation services. Those are some of the increase. We had about $700,000 increase overall, so more charges for services in the general fund. Grant income was way down, just $28,000 received in 2015, down from $206 in 2014. Property taxes increased a little over $100,000 from $1,204,000 up from $1,098,000. Sales taxes almost identical, $1,336,000 up from $1,333,000. Franchise taxes also up a little bit, $635,000 up from $619,000. Other taxes, that's hotel, motel, and I believe beverage taxes, $97,000 down from the $152,733. Interest income, $676,000 up from $386,000, still pretty low. Miscellaneous income, $260,000, down a little bit from the $321,000. The total revenues in the general fund, $7,033,068, up from the $6,447,000. So right at almost a $600,000 increase there in your general fund revenues. Expenses, administration expenses, $351,000, down a lot from the $715,000 prior year. Finance, $750,000, up from $636,000. Public safety police, $1,446,000, slight increase from the $1,403,000. Fire and ambulance expenses were down, $1,195,000 from $1,546,000. Municipal court, about a small increase, $147,000 up from $129,000. Sanitation fees, $750,000 down from $818,000. Street expenses, $310,000 down from $794,000. Airport, $193,000 down from $319,000. Second Monday, about the same, $71,000 down from up from $68,000. Recreation and swimming, $108,000 up from $100,000. Library, $225,000 down from $256,000. Outreach, same, $8,000. Senior citizens, $14,600 down from $7,000. Park expenses, $465,000 down from $604,000. Hotel motel, $8,600 from $14,400. Code enforcement, $160,000 up from $119,000. Main Street, about the same, $99,000 versus $97,000. No expenses in Missionary Reservoirs for this year. Bad debts, ambulance fees, big write-off there, because from talking with Ricky and Renee, I understand the hospital, here is scheduled to close. So we kind of talked about that, decided we would need to write off a bunch of the ambulance fees, $964,866. So when you consider the general fund, did have a net income overall, was still writing off $960,000 in ambulance fees. That's pretty good. Community center, $403,000 from $244,000. Total pension expense. This is another change from TMRS, a requirement that you show that separately, which actually, if you look up administration, you see that big decrease from $351 to $715. That's part of that, because that $142 last year would have been included with administration. This year they want us to separate it. So there's the total pension expense. Interest expense, $412,000 up from $120,000. So total expenses, $8,231,000, up slightly from the $8,113,000, so about a $100,000 increase in expenses. Transfers, $1,620,000 was transferred from the business proprietary fund to the general fund. So that made the change in net position positive, which is net income, $421,240. But I guess to kind of take that into consideration, look at your operating before the transfer, $7 million net income, $8,000,200 expenses. So you have about a 1.2 loss in general without the transfer from the business fund. Business fund is summarized a lot more, so we won't have to be quite as long-winded there. Charges for services there, of course, that's just your electricity, water, and sewer charges to city customers. Down slightly, $11,932,000, down from $12,627,000, so right over $700,000 decrease there. Interest income there, $7,000 up from $6,355,000. $1,500 miscellaneous income for total revenues, and electricity, water, and sewer, $11,940,000 versus $12,633,000, so right at around $700,000 decrease there. Admin expenses and water, sewer, and electricity, $49,000 up from $39,000. Again, total pension expense needs to be separated, so there's the $142,162 again. Interest expense there is $6,442. Water expenses, $1,598,701, up from the $1,469,000 prior year. Sewer expenses were down, $1,100,000, down from the $1,233,000. Electricity expenses, $7,322,000, down from the $7,951,000. So total expenses, water and sewer and electricity, $10,219,000, down about $400,000 from the $10,694,000 in the prior year. $1,620,000 was transferred out. Change in net position, it is positive, so that's net income. So net income in the proprietary fund, $101,638. Again, we need to look at that kind of before the transfer. 11.9 minus 10.2, that's about 1.7. So we have about $1.7 million net income in operating for business type activities. Page 9. Just a little more detail on your capital assets. Top governmental activities, again, general fund, your land is $577,764. Building system and improvements, net of depreciation, $7,303,000, $7,298,000. Small additions there. Machinery and equipment, net of depreciation, $1,162,000, down from $1,267,000, and decreased due to depreciation. Construction in progress to $1,478,990. Capital leases, $613,398, down from the $678,21. That's just depreciation in infrastructure. $1,439,292, down from $1,483,000. That's again decreases depreciation. So $12,575,000 in capital assets in the general fund. Business type activities, land value there, $267,499. Again, that's historical cost. I'm sure your present value cost is a lot more than that. Building systems improvements, net of depreciation, $13,575, down from the $14,058,000. Again, that's depreciation, machinery and equipment. $142,000, up from $133,000. So there were some additions there. Construction in progress has been put in service now. Capital leases, $117,000, down from $143,000. So total capital assets in the business type activities fund, $14,103,000, down from the $14,615,000. Again, just depreciation. So total capital assets net of depreciation, $26,678,000, down from the $27,393,000. Below that, table 8-5, your long-term liabilities outstanding. Just kind of a little more detail on your loans. Right at the top, the total pension liability, $6,872,242 in both general and business. City's not liable for that though. That's what money has been put into TMRS. So, I kind of disagree with the way they want us to report that now, but, oh well, that's what we have to do. Capital leases payable, $537,492, compared to $535,000 in the prior year. Your general obligation bonds, big decrease there, paid that down to $550,000 from $1,080,000. Your certificate of obligation bonds, $1,675,000, down from $1,870,000. Was a new notes payable of $200,000 added in the past year. Compensated absences, that's like your sick leave and vacation leave, $126,000, up from $123,000. So again, total $9,961,000, up from the $3,608,000. Remember, almost $7 million of that is just the TMRS pension liability. Business type activities, capital leases payable, $138,000, down from $226,000, so that's getting paid down quickly. Compensated absences there, $27,746 versus $27,508, and again the big $7 million pension liability for $7 million in total liabilities there versus $253 in the prior year. That's it. Any comments or questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Allman?
Thank you for making it simple. It's reading for the occasion.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We
Yeah,
appreciate
no
you
problem.
coming tonight.
All right, the next item we have there is awarding a bid of the depository. We had one bank that gave us a depository proposal back, and that was Legend Bank, so that is before you to consider. Again, it is Legend, that is currently who we do banking with, and they have that proposal in your packet. And then the last item there is a reappointment to the hospital board, and we do have Tim here as president, current president, and he's also up for the reappointment as well as in seat number 1, and Carla Carla Swafford in seat number 2 for reappointments. That is all we have on the agenda tonight.
Okay. That brings us to items of interest. And tonight we have something that's always very rewarding for the mayor to do. I received a very nice, or actually Chief Page received a very nice letter that he forwarded to me, and I want to recognize 3 of our fine EMTs tonight. If you gentlemen would come forward and stand right up here, please. I would like to read this letter. And then I have a little something that I want to give you. And I think Miss Browning actually has something that she would like to say as I finish. Dear Chief Page, during the last 10 days or so, 3 of your staff have gone to 1206 Miller Street to assist my neighbor and friend Mary Watley after a fall. Their care and concern have been amazing. The first trip, Mr. Byler and Mr. Skinner responded to my call. They were able to help her to her feet with minimal pain and trauma to Mary. Yesterday, Mr. Skinner and Mr. Rodericks made the trip. Mary had fallen into the bathroom and was stretched out on the floor in a very tight space. Mr. Skinner worked his way into the room, comforted and calmed her, and then lifted her to her feet with Mr. Rodericks' assistance. Mr. Skinner is particularly blessed in dealing with older folks. He can comfort, reassure, and calm even in traumatic circumstances. Mary refused a trip to the Nocona Hospital, but later decided that she needed to go to the Decatur ER Hospital, where she has been treated before. Mr. Watley is not well, and I did not feel safe trying to get her to the car by myself. Again, another call was made, and your department came to the rescue. Mr. Skinner and Mr. Rodericks made a second trip for the day and used their knowledge once again to transfer Mary down a steep step into her wheelchair and into the car. Mr. Skinner squatted down beside Mary and continued to reassure and comfort her. He is definitely Mary's hero. She has mentioned several times how strong he was to just lift her right up off the floor. I don't know what your department's procedure is for commendations, but I want you to know that your staff is doing an excellent job and representing Bowie Fire Department in a compassionate, honorable, and professional manner. Please share this email with them or pass the word that they are the heroes of Miller Street. It's hard to express the amount of gratitude. Sincerely, Julia A. Browning. Would you like to speak?
Well, I've lived in Bowie for 26 years, and I've been very blessed. I've never had to call 911. And I've called 911 3 times within about 10 days or 2 weeks. And these 3 guys have been beyond competent, beyond caring. I don't have a sufficient list of superlative adjectives to tell you just how great you are. And Mr. Skinner is very talented in dealing with someone who is under trauma and who is in pain. They all are. And gentlemen, I want you to know you are heroes on Miller Street. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. All right, that brings us to our departmental reports, and we'll call on the airport first.
Good evening, Council. I didn't put this in my report, but just to update, we started reconstruction on our hangar S2 out there with the Energy Services secondary hangar. Putting a new roof and a bifold door on it. It should be, the weather holds up, we should be able to complete that this week. So
we'll go right along with that, so that'll make them happy. For the month, again, I stated earlier, our winter months are kind of slow. Refilled about 10 aircraft myself. Our gas pump, we did around 616 gallons. Truck, we did 286. Jet A system, we used did 610 gallons. Gave us gross sales for the month of $52.95. As far as all of our fuel pumps and meters, we had all those inspected and calibrated. What we do on a yearly basis to make sure we're not taking from the public ready, you know, we try to be on the plus side a little bit. That's pretty much all I have.
Well, I have something, I don't know, many of you may not have seen this, but in Cessna Pilots, a magazine, the January edition, actually the airport was written up. A gentleman was flying here from Nebraska, I believe it was, to visit his family. And he wrote a nice article about the airports that he stopped at on the way, and here's what he said here's what he had to say about the Bowie Airport. Now, let me tell you, the Bowie Municipal Airport is a beautiful backcountry airport. Apparently, it got recently a very nice overhaul, including the new blacktop runway and beautiful blacktop tie-down area. They never charge for tie-down, no matter how long you stay there. They dispense self-service aviation gas and jet fuel, and they also have a courtesy car that you can use to go to town to get a meal. Just put a little gas in the car when you return. He also took pictures of our airport and places that he visited while he was here. So I'm going to pass this around for you to look at. I think it's commendable that we got a nice write-up like that. Appreciate the job you do.
Just two things real quick. Thank you for your lunch that you had in December. That was very good. And having Patrick Walters take me up in his plane, I do understand when you say runway is in need of repair. So we're just a little bit there at one side for sure. But thank you for doing such a wonderful job you did, and thank you for working on that gas truck, because that looks fantastic. One more time.
Anything else?
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, Fire. Chief Page, if you could give us a quick synopsis.
December, we were told 13 incidents. And then also you'll see our year-end report that has everything total. We have a total of 189 incidents fire-wise. 56 of those are outside the city, 133 responses within the city. Roughly, we respond to about 15 structure fires throughout the year. EMS-wise, again, we got the December stats and then the year-end stats. We had a total of 1,166 transports and 1,599 contacts in the ambulance service. That's just a real quick brief synopsis.
I have a question. I noticed you made, in December, you made 59 trips over to Nocona. So that's, I guess if you looked at it on average, almost 2 a day. So how is that situation working out?
For the most part, we were able to keep up. We've been called a couple of times where we don't have an ambulance in town. We'll have either both in Nocona or one in Decatur, one in Nocona, one out of town at one of the facilities and out of another call. And we're seeing an increase in the number of times that we're what we would call triple bumping when there's a call open. Happened recently. We had one in Decatur, one in Nocona. So it was a 20-minute response to get them back over here. Which, I mean, we couldn't have gotten anybody any closer, any quicker. But it's just, we were not able to respond in a timely fashion that we were, normally had we been in-house. We have a guideline that we go by where typically we're responding within a minute of the page during the day, 2 minutes at night. That's being a little bit hampered when we're trying to transport these distances. Fortunately, that particular that happened most recently was just a lift assist. Nobody had to be transported.
From some of the statistics I've looked at lately, it appears that somewhere between 35 and 40% of your calls are out of the city limits.
That's correct.
Is that still pretty much holding?
Yes, sir.
is 59 calls, is that pretty much an average month? Is it high? Is it low? Do you have a feel for that?
59 by itself is a low number compared to what we were doing before the hospital closed. A lot of that has taken away from that number is the lack of transfers. We're not doing in-facility transfers anymore. We're not taking people to Dallas, Wichita, Denton. None of those that previously we were doing. But the numbers are still pretty high for what we're doing.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Hyde, I would like to hear from the library, please.
December was pretty normal. We had our regular programs with a special Christmas program for the story time where we had a lady come in and play Mrs. Claus, and the kids always love that. And then they got to decorate their own sugar cookies. The staff has finished their collection inventory. We've inventoried all the items in the library, and now we've started working on shelf weeding, where we take off the material that is no longer being used, or that is worn up or soiled or outdated. And you'll start seeing that reflected on your statistics in the month, like the withdrawal items. Any questions?
Yeah, now, you're going to New York
Yes, in March.
in March. And tell me again
Okay.
what that's about.
We were selected as one of the libraries to participate in the Family Place Library Program. It's a program that teaches libraries to do an outreach to parents with children ages 0 to 3 to teach them skills that ready them to go on to school. And along with us getting the training in New York, the state is giving us $6,000 to buy material with and to furnish the library to put on this program.
Wow.
Yes, we're very excited. Just hope there's not a blizzard in March.
Really?
Just two things real quick. As you know, I went to the library today. I thought it was outstanding. I couldn't find a parking space because you had so many people there for your morning programs. That was just outstanding. The library looked good. Your staff was wonderful. I finally updated my library card. It's been out of date for nine years now. Ms. Wolf, is that correct? Wonderful person as far as helping people in there, and of course the rest of your staff was good too. But just want to commend you. Also, we have here donated audiobooks from American Hack Company at $500.
Yes, they wanted, we decreased our audio back a couple of years when we had a few budget cuts, so we decreased the amount of audiobooks. Plus, we're kind of running out of room, that's another thing. And they're one of our more expensive items to buy. They're usually $40 to $50 for one title. But they saw that we were only getting a few, and they asked if they could donate money so that we could add to our collections.
So I'd like to bring that out and just, thank the American Hack Company for making a nice donation like that for all of us.
Yes, definitely.
New officers?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. We did have 3 new board members meet yesterday. And our new officers are Rebecca Sykes as president, Debbie Eckeberger as vice president, and Judy Hill as secretary. And I'm really looking forward to a great year with this board. They are all avid library users and very knowledgeable about what we do.
Sounds like a good slate of officers.
They,
Yeah,
yeah.
should be good. Exciting year.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for? All right, thank you very much. And finally, tonight, I would like to hear from Public Works. And Mr. Johnson.
All right, the water plant is in good shape there. The daily average pumpage is normal, about .749 million gallons a day. Sewer plant's running good, no issues there. That daily average flow there is .677 million gallons a day. The water distribution guys, they repaired 13 water main breaks, 11 meter leaks, and they made 1 water tap. The sewer collection guys, they did 24 sewer calls. They cleaned 7,400 feet of sewer main on those calls. In the street department, they repaired 343 potholes. They bladed 2 alleyways that we had complaints on, and then bladed Silver Lakes out there. Reports of public, any questions?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Love talking to your guy out there fixing potholes. It was cold, it was windy, and he was doing an excellent job. I was so happy to, I talked to you a little bit earlier about this, to see a street sweeper out there working on our roads. I haven't seen one in 3 years. So that was, they did an excellent job, cleaning up the gutters and getting rid of all those leaves.
Yeah.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, I'll let them know.
How much road, in Silver Lakes, what length of roads do we have to take care of out there, do you know?
What's the name of that street we turn off there?
Sandy Lane.
Sandy Lane, and then all, that dirt road all the way into the paved area.
This is mile, 2 miles, 5 miles?
It's about 1.5 miles, I had to guess. What do you think, Rick?
Probably a little longer than that, but, probably longer than that, but.
Yeah, I went out there today, little Bobby, we're gonna have to be back out there blading again, so. After rain, it takes a pretty good beating. I guess we've got a few more homeowners out there too, no traffic.
Isn't that the county's
That was
responsibility?
gonna be my next
Not
question.
that section, my understanding is the city owned, don't know why.
Thank you very much.
All right, you guys enjoy going out there grading?
Okay, that brings us to our city manager's report.
Okay, just wanted to catch a couple things. We didn't catch Main Street tonight, so I wanted to bring up, we got our annual report. Shannon's back there, I don't know if she got it, she should have got one attached to her, but just wanted to kind of bring note to it that the city has been participating in the Main Street program for 19 years. Now, this is a state report that they compiled for the city. And the overall investment for that Main Street program has been $7,367,000. It's created 116 jobs and approximately 43 small businesses. The contributing volunteer hours is a little over 18,000 volunteer hours that go into that program. So I just wanted to kind of bring that to everybody as well, that that program is monitored through the state with the progress it does on an annual basis. So just wanted to kind of throw that in there, the investment and that has been put into it over the year, so, over the 19 years. So other than that, on our reports of where we're at, we're still working on conceptuals for the municipal complex. I think the mayor's going to be working on that the next month or so. We do have some drawings that'll be showing up, just conceptuals, kind of what we seen way back at the first. The few of y'all that was here on the first round a year ago. We'll be bringing some more of that before y'all to make some decisions on that. We are still working with engineers on the drainage issue out at Kiwanis Park. Trying to get some of that studies done and everything. It's not looking like we're going to be eligible for any funds to enlarge that or relocate it or any of that. So it'll just be if we want to go through the trouble to reconstruct it to back pre-storm damage. So basically, you're looking at a little bit of concrete work on the headers, the pipes, any of the pipe damages and all that will not be covered in the damages. They're looking at that as maintenance and issues there, so all they will do is basically the concrete work on the outer edges, dealing with that. So we are moving forward with some engineering on it to look at some viable possibilities that might help us alleviate some of that problems. At the same time, we've kind of moved forward with the scope of bringing all our maps and stuff in so we can do our water and sewer overall plan that y'all had kind of talked about during our workshop pre-budget. So we are working with the engineers to kind of get some ideas of the cost and everything to get that moving forward so we can do our studies on the water and sewer system and streets. That includes the streets. We've talked to Amoresco on our project on our water meters and electric meters. That project is moving forward. We did make a slight adjustment to the water meters in the conceptual plans that we had brought before y'all was currently we're using a composite 3/4 and 1-inch meter on the water side. We did do an upgrade to change them to stainless steel. After we started doing some research on that in our Silver Lakes area, we run about 120 PSI out there, and we've had several meters out there that has literally blown apart. So in lieu of that and some other issues that we found in there, we did do a slight change in order on that to increase to a stainless steel over the composites. So that work has been ordered out. They have notified the vendors, so that is starting to progress through. So once we get the vendors on board and they give us a written notice of date of delivery, we'll bring that back to you when we're going to actually start the install process. So,
So will it act as a pressure regulator along with the meter?
no, the homeowners out there have to install that already. They do that on their side, but coming through the meter, we seem to be catching some
Too
issues
much
there.
pressure.
Yeah. And being composite too, when they go to screw the little adapters that go onto the meters and stuff, if you're not real careful in them, we've lost several meters with just the bad threads. So there's no way of, once you strip them out, it's over
Can't
with, so,
retread
yeah.
composite.
And these meters are running, the current meters we're running are costing about $130 a piece. So when we strip them out or they blow, that's thrown aside. So we thought it'd be valuable to go ahead and increase that to a stainless steel, so we wouldn't have the blow aparts and stuff. The new meters do cost a little bit more with the AMI system included in it. We're gonna be looking at about $145, I believe is what it was. So about a $20 increase in the meters, so.
Worth it though.
Yeah, for stainless steel.
So,
When you mentioned about the solar deal.
we have been working with engineers on the electric side. You know, we did get our agreement with the BTU to be able to do 1 meg of power generated on our system. So we're continuing to work with our engineers on that to possibly do a solar field out here of some sort, solar or wind. We haven't distinguished that yet. So we're getting proposals on that. So hopefully here before long, we'll have some proposals on the size needed, the infrastructure needed to make that happen, to bring back before y'all to do some cost analysis there. So we are working on some pretty good projects, so.
A lot of things going on. It's gonna be a busy year, for sure.
On the lights, when are you gonna start putting up the new lights?
All that'll be with when Amoresco gets back with us on all the order dates, we'll be starting to tell you when all that'll start hitting the.
Thank you so much, and I'll probably apologize for the.
Any other questions about any of the workshop items? Okay, if there are no other questions, I will adjourn the workshop. And I will call the regular meeting to order at 6:50. Those of you that have given your reports or have finished your awards, if you would like to leave at this time, please feel free to do so before we get kicked off here. All right, if you'll stand, we'll have our invocation by Mr. Wiseman and then our Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, as we come this night, first part of the year, we know that we as councilors, as city employees, and those that are members and residents of Bowie, Lord, we pull together, we can see increases, we can see better things. Lord, it's going to take us all. May we do that. Now be with us tonight. Thank you for the people and the recognition of our ambulance service. In Jesus' name, amen.
I'll let them in here before we do this pledge. So join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Our next agenda item is the consent agenda, which includes approval of the minutes for the January 5th meeting, Resolution 2016-03, which is to write off $9,496.30 of utility receivables that are considered uncollectible. Resolution 2016-04, which is to authorize the city manager to write off $83.36 of overdue library fines. Are there any requests to remove any of these items from the consent agenda? All right. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve those items. Mr. Wiseman, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bell? Is there any discussion? Okay. Mr. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Bell?
Aye.
Mr. Wiseman?
Aye.
Ms. Holstein?
Aye.
Mr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
The consent agenda is approved. Under new business, you have heard the report given by our CPA. Do we have a motion to accept the audit as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Graham? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Davis? Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to just say that I appreciate the good job that Renee does, and also this audit that was done. It shows that we're making progress and going in a good direction.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Bell? Mr. Wiseman?
Aye.
Ms. Holstein?
Aye.
Mr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Adams? The audit is accepted as presented. Our next new business item is to award the bid for the city depository. You have that in front of you. Is there a motion to award that bid to Legend Bank? Mr. Adams? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Graham? Is there discussion? Mr. Wiseman? How you vote? Ms. Holstein?
Aye.
Mr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Adams? Mr. Bell? The bid for the city depository is awarded to Legend Bank. Our final item of business is reappointment to the hospital board for the seats that are open. First of all, we will consider Mr. Wynn. Is there a motion to approve his reappointment to seat one? Mr.
It'll
Graham?
be an honor to do it for Mr. Wood.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bell? Is there any discussion?
I just want to appreciate all the stuff that he put up with, all the stuff that he does for the city, for the hospital, and thank you.
Any other discussion? All right. Ms. Holstein?
No.
Mr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Adams? Mr. Bell? Mr. Wiseman? Okay. The next item is to approve the appointment of Carla Swafford to seat 2. Do I have a motion? Mr. Adams? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Davis. Is there discussion? Mr. Graham?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Adams? Mr. Bell? Mr. Wiseman?
Aye.
Ms. Holstein?
No.
That motion to reappoint Ms. Swafford to seat 2 is approved. I think that concludes all of our business items for the meeting tonight. So at 7:56, I will adjourn, 6:56, I'm sorry, I will adjourn the regular council meeting.